very good morning to you. Welcome back to Life and Style Thursday edition. That means it's Inspiration Thursday. Tendai, thank you so much for that. At least Tendai is registered. So you go ahead and take care or take charge of your health on MT. But right now on Motivate, we are talking to the CEO and one of the founders of the Harry Homes, a very young man who's accomplished a lot. Welcome to the show, Ephantus.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, when I start to label and put labels on you and the things that you have done, we're going to be here for a while. So I'm going to let you do that. Introduce yourself properly with proper titles. I went to the CEO and co-founder. That was the easiest.
Yeah, that's it. My good names are Kimani Kimotho. I'm the current CEO of Harry Homes. Harry Homes is a company that was started back in the year 2009. Now we're 8 years old.
All right.
Yeah.
So maybe you can just go a little bit back from who Ephantus Kimotho was before and what he wanted to do and what he eventually did. And was it your passion to get into real estate, and how did you stumble onto that?
Okay. I'm a trained accountant. I've done CPAs. Initially, I started working in an auditing firm. During my time there, I audited over 300 companies.
Wow.
So I was able to actually audit several companies. I had passion for profit. So among the companies, quite a number of them we shared. I was involved in their strategic planning. And it's from there that I grew the interest of starting a business that would make a social impact to people. Yeah, so from there, we teamed up with a team of other 6 people, and we started Harry Homes.
Harry Homes.
Yeah.
Did you know that you wanted to get into real estate, or when you decided it's a business, do you have an idea of what it is that you wanted to do then?
Somehow, then going by the World Bank statistics, there were 6 sectors which were deemed to have been one of the best: agriculture, real estate, energy, health, and education.
Okay.
So I thought real estate, based on the audits, various audits we had done,
Yes.
real estate seemed to have been one of the industries that was growing pretty much fast.
Okay.
And that's why we moved in there.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's been, you say 5 years?
7 years. Now
7
this year
years.
will be 8.
This will be the 8th year,
Yeah,
2017.
March will be 8 year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is huge. So what does, you have a particular model that you incorporate in your houses. That's the equity model. Tell us about that and why is it favorable?
Okay, as guys in Harry Homes, since 2011, after the interest rates went up and what have you, before we used to use the debt model, we quickly
What is
moved.
that?
A debt model is whereby, as a developer, you are using a mix of debt and equity, whereby you bring the funds from shareholders, but at the same time you get some debt, either from a financing institution or something like that. But after 2011, when the interest rates went up, we had already sold some houses, and later we had to lose some customers because some of them could not afford to pay their mortgages. So, and that's why we quickly had to think about the equity model. So the equity model comprises of 4 partners. One is the shareholders. 2 is the investors who come in and bring 20% of the amount of total amount of the project before groundbreaking. Then we have the pre-sale customers. For the investors, what attracts them is the fact that first we do a feasibility study. For every project before we undertake it, we actually do a feasibility study. That's actually our key selling point, to be able to pull guys together. In the feasibility study, we look at various items. One of them is the location. Location is actually very key in real estate. So we realize some of the projects we have, like the one we have in Kikui Road, is just like 5 kilometers away to Junction.
Okay.
It's 8 kilometers away from Westlands. The other one that we have near New Kitusuru Estate is just 7.5 kilometers from Sarit. So location is actually very key, because we appreciate the fact that some of the people who are buying our homes, one, most of them may be driving, but most of them actually will even be renting them out. So we also like having a place that is easily accessible even to the public and who would be tenants. Then from that, we look at something like the designs. We've also adopted the new designs and modern technology. Like instead of having the old way of doing tanks up the roof, now we're having the water pressure tanks. So you don't have to have that weight all up there. Instead of having septic tanks, we're having biodigesters. So we also try and modernize the new designs in. Then the other key thing we also look at is the return on investment. That is actually very key, because 20% of our clients are actually from the diaspora. And then their key interest is actually the rental income, the return on investment, because they're not going to stay here. Maybe time will come, maybe 10 years to come, when they come back, they'll come and stay there. So return on investment is actually a key factor. So, which now, some of the factors we look at there when you're doing when you're doing the feasibility study, we look at the rental income, and also the occupancy rate. A key example, like in the area we have, the ones we have in Kikuyu Road, off Naivasha Road, we realize that a house there, a two-bedroom apartment, will go for something like 30 to 35. The occupancy rate there, because of how near it is to town, is around 90%. But the same two-bedroom in a place like Kitengela would go for like 15 to 20,000. But the occupancy rate is around 50%.
Yeah.
So that, in short, makes it end up being like, if you assuming it's 20 on the higher side, it's like you're getting a rental income of 10,000. So in a year, in such a unit, will only give you like 120. Whereas the same house in where we are, it will give you a rental income of 360. So by so doing, but the cost still ends up being the same. So that's why you have to do the feasibility study. So armed with that information, we're able now to approach the strategic investors who, in our model, in the equity model, what you do, these are, as I said earlier, these are people who give you money.
Yes.
Actually, 20% of the cost of the house before even you break ground. So meaning they've just bought trust. Actually, the other thing that actually is really fundamental in the business is actually the trust element.
Yeah.
So you have to really convince them and give them a good idea. And these are people, normally what you do anytime before you break ground, like a month before, that's when we run several investors forum, whereby we're able to pitch and get these investors. And but that has never been a challenge so far. So based on that, like for example, one of the projects we had in Kikuyu Road, the one we had in Kikuyu Road, we were selling a unit for 2.6. But right now, the same unit, that is now at when we were starting before groundbreaking. Right now, the same unit is going for 4.5, which is not even the market value, because the market value is 5.2. So normally what happens to attract these people, we sell them the unit at cost. We just add something small. It's just like the way we'd say we are like managers at some point. We just managing, we just add a small percentage. In a situation whereby you have like 60 units, like the example we had there, would say to be able to raise this money, we give out 30 units to the investors almost at cost, so that at that point we can attract cash flow. Then once we have the cash flow, once you have that 20%, we break ground. Once you break ground, now there are those people who now seeing is believing. Once they see what you have and what you are bringing up, now they're able to trust in you. And now those are now people we call pre-sale customers. With them now we add a small margin up. Like in this case, maybe the next lot of 10 units you are able to sell at 3.5. Then after that, when you have the structure up and running, and now people can really see the structure and everything, the price again goes up to 4 million. Then when you have a show house ready, and the unit is now almost getting to completion, you're able to sell it at 4.5.
Is this consistent even over the years?
Yeah, it's been consistent because you see, when the initial price you start with is actually purely at cost, without debt. So I just get the QS who gives you the BQ, and from there you tell guys, you guys come. So it's basically offering a business opportunity to people.
Okay.
It's just because I'm telling them they are the ones offering us cash. It's just a way of attracting cash flows.
Yeah.
Instead of they will go to a bank and the bank will tell me, okay, if you want to put up a house of 2.6, okay, then I'll give you a loan. Then that loan you'll pay it over the duration of construction, which will end up costing you almost 1.4 million.
Yeah. Now this brings me to something we've had a guest on the show who is very passionate about construction and the construction industry in general. And one thing he said is that most of the people in the construction industry get the money from now the people he's saying that give you 20% for the trust. And he was totally against that. He said the government should be able to give you this money to the investors so that they can put up, so that you see the way when you go borrow this money, and they give you 20%, and probably you don't get money to refund the 20% that you got from them. What happens to you then? But if the government came in and helped the people in the construction industry to put up these buildings, wouldn't that help in curbing some of these things that happen in between?
Okay, yeah, it's true. If the government was able to do that, that would help. But actually, but the key thing the government is supposed to do to make the real estate industry go on is actually to improve our infrastructure. Because actually that has been the biggest challenge. The infrastructure element. If they can do their part on the infrastructure, then the rest can be okay.
You guys can handle
the guys you're dealing with them, actually those guys who are giving us the 20% are really not homeowners. These are people who are looking for investment opportunities. Because they're looking at it, if I put my 2.6 here, and I'm actually not putting it all at once. I'm putting it a staggered way. So I'm managing my risk. I'm seeing where the money is going. And after 1.5 years, after 2 years, I'm assured of getting it when it is double. Then they're seeing it as a business opportunity. So if anything, even if the government was to give you that, they'll still these people will still be attracted because you'll be surprised. Within a month, you're able to pull, if a project has 100 units, within a month, you're able to pull like 50 guys who come together. Because the only thing they need to is confirm that you guys can do it, can deliver. They're looking for business opportunities.
And that's where the trust comes in. So
yeah, that's where trust comes in, delivery.
If you delivered this time, I'd be very, very comfortable to give you money next time to invest in you and your company.
Just like the same way right now, maybe you might be having a lose 1M somewhere lying in the bank.
Yes.
By the end of the year, it will only earn you 8%. But if you had that lose M in Harry Homes, after 1 year, you'll have it 50% more.
Yeah, I'm going to think about that 1 million lying around somewhere and look for Harry Homes. But now something else. We've talked about the highlights and how beautiful it is, this real estate business. But I'm sure there's been highs and lows.
Yeah.
I mean, 8 years down the line, you must have hit a point in the business and be like, you know what, it's never that serious. Maybe I can try something different. What was that point for you, the lowest?
Actually, the lowest is actually what came out to be an opportunity. It was that in 2011, when the interest rate, we had already taken a loan, the interest rates went up, and we had sold some of the houses. Some of the guys who had bought the houses dropped because they could not be able to, they had paid the 20%, waiting for us to complete the house, for them to take a mortgage from the bank and pay the 80%. But you find a situation where when one was supposed to pay 80,000, one is being told to pay 140 per month. So that changed the whole scenario. Then also you have a situation whereby someone has bought a house this year, but it will be complete 2 years down the line. Fortune changes. You find by after 2 years, you're hoping you have a debtor's portfolio, hoping to get that money, then only to realize that the person lost a job somewhere along the way. So you have to go again back to the market. And as you're going back to the market, the loan is still accumulating interest. So what happens is all the efforts you've put in the project ends up being eaten by the interest in the bank. So that was a very big challenge. So at some point we netted off some losses. So it's because of that now we had to come up, think it through, and we realize a lot of money, this money we are borrowing from the bank has been taken there by people. Why can't we convince those people, instead of taking it to the bank, bring it to us, as long as we can keep our word?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going through social media, and one of the questions that is popping up here, I see Kevin asking, when you talk about real estate, does the houses in places like Kayole and Madare Huruma count as real estate?
Yeah, that's still part of real estate, but still, that's still part of real estate, yeah. But the shortage in Nairobi right now as we talk, despite having all those houses, is actually 25,000 houses. So there's still a very, very big shortage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And what is that one thing that Harry Homes does that we've seen if they are part of real estate, the Huruma and Kayole, where these houses fall every other day, and you know where I'm headed with this question.
Yeah.
So what did you see is missing there that you guys have so that your buildings are built in a way that is more durable, if I could use that word?
Okay, what happens is, when you're doing real estate, people at times maybe tend to cut shortcuts, maybe to save on cost. And how we've been able to go about that is, first, us guys don't cut any shortcuts. One, because you have the advantage of the volumes, and you can equally negotiate with these guys.
Yeah.
Like, first thing you need to do, first when you buy the land, first of all, there's that beacon identification. You must get a surveyor to do for you the identification, just to be sure, really. But after that, more important is you do something called a geosurvey. Geosurvey is done by a geologist. You realize those people are not very famous. A geologist actually does what is called like an X-ray of the ground, whereby you're able to tell how deep is the rock, why, how far is the rock exactly, red soil, all that. Then you're able to establish that, because that's why you find some of the houses, like maybe what you had the other day, some of them sink, but they don't collapse. Meaning they started, they had not reached the rock. So that's why, and once it reaches the rock, the house doesn't sink anymore. So once you do a geosurvey, from the geosurvey, those results, you take them to a structural engineer. So a good structural engineer will not even undertake to start work before getting a geosurvey report. From the geosurvey report, he'll be able to establish what the size of the base column. These base columns are the tumors. You see the columns, especially when you go to some estates, you find we have pillars, underground parking, the likes. So those columns the base columns, they are supported by a base column. Those base columns are all a subject of the geosurvey. So he may decide and say, oh, here I'm going to use I-25, here I'm going to use I-20. Then from there also, it also determines the concrete mixture. You can use class 20, class 25, all that. But all that is dependent on that one report. So if you decide to take a shortcut and ignore the geosurvey, geologists, most of them are actually in Chiromo campus. That's where we find them. So, but they're only used for research, but not for the people who are doing business. But they're actually very, very key. Once you get that person, and they most of them will charge you between 200 and 300,000. So that's of course maybe one will say, okay, let me save on this. Maybe it will give me a couple of bags of cement. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we don't take shortcuts in short. Then on most of the clients we have actually engineers, architects. So we have a lot of, and these investors, they have a lot of freedom to even come and tell and inspect the construction that's going on. We also invite them for our site meetings. So once in a while. So with those groups of the syndicate we bring around, we invite them for site meetings. So basically cutting shortcuts on us is
zero.
Is almost at zero.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something very interesting, because I'm sure people are looking and wondering, how can I get into the industry myself? Because we are all about giving people inspiration and motivating them in whatever career that they want to take. And today we are in, real estate industry, construction industry. And looking at your background, you did accounts. And then you got into the business probably because of the money. And the names that you're throwing around over here, then things that you have learned on the job. I wouldn't know what that geologist would do for me. So of course, these are some of the things that people are wondering, if I want to get into this industry, what is required of me? What do I need to do? What do I need to have? Even the money as well.
I think the most important, just like any other business, first you need to get the right team, even partners. Like my partner is a person who's been in the real estate for the last 20 years. He's quite experienced. Okay. So it starts with the choice of your partner.
Yeah.
So you build on diversity. And then from there now you move on. But of course this world is actually, you have to keep on learning. We learn from each and every person. So every day for me is a learning day. We're learning from the architects, we're learning from the engineers.
Yeah, I heard you say, why what? You lost me there, and I pretend I was like, Okay.
Yeah, so it's a learning opportunity. So actually the best thing is actually, when you have a passion for something, but when you have a passion for something, you'll actually make it, because you'll keep on learning from the people you're interacting with every other time. Respect people who are around you. So actually I can say it's all about business, it's all about people. At times, money is key. Because people say, money is key, capital is important, even in real estate. Like us guys, of course, we had to start with some capital. But after that, as much as capital is important,
yes,
the other key important thing was how you deal with people and how you get to understand the people around you. I would classify like the people around us in like 5 categories.
Okay.
One, I would say, is first of all is your partner, because you start a business with your partner. Your partners, your shareholders, in this case. First, you before you even start, you have to really see it through the end, the bad times, the good times. So, and by so doing what you do, you have to do like a shareholders agreement. It clearly clearly spells out your roles, your expectations, to avoid a situation whereby, because actually people fight when you make more money. Or when you make less. When you make just enough, people don't fight. You start fighting because people are just telling you, oh, I think you're the one, you're the brain behind these, you should get more, you should get those kind of things. But you have a very clearly well laid out shareholders agreement, and that's taken care of. The next important person is actually the employee. You really have to invest a lot in the employees. These are the people, they are the vision carriers. They're the people who will deliver the vision to your expectation to the people out there. So I count them actually as a very, nowadays they're called human capital. Actually, they are very, very important part of the capital. Because if you get them, the other part, so if they're right, if they buy into their vision, they'll be able to handle your customers very well. And your customer, again, is the one who brings you the cash inflows. So if they don't handle them well, the flip side of it is the customer will be very hard for you to get the cash from the customer. And once the customer has brought you money, which is like basically like us guys, 80% of the money actually is actually financed by our customer somehow. So you realize you'll be able to even pay your suppliers in time. And also suppliers are another source of free capital, because suppliers will give you credit for 30 days. So for suppliers, us guys, for when it comes to employee, we make sure we achieve their goal by satisfying them and giving them a very good environment. When it comes to our customers, we like keeping our word. Like all our projects, we deliver them in time. Sometimes even way beyond time, because in real estate, that has been the biggest challenge. Some of the lawyers, the other day were with our lawyers saying he's surprised that we are the only real estate company that is able to put a definite date on an off plan.
And actually,
on an off plan, because I'll tell you, like now we are breaking ground. There's a ground we're breaking on this coming Saturday on 21st. We've already told guys you will be working in your house by March next year. So March now next year. So we are sure the timeline, everything, you're able to do that in an agreement. And there are consequences which will come to us if we don't deliver that by that time. So he was actually worried, why are you sure you guys are going to deliver this? And he said, okay, let me add you more 3 months. So now he said June next year. But at least we are sure, because we've been able to do that. Like what you have currently, we started in October, and by April 1, which I'm inviting you for an opening ceremony, we'll be handing over our houses. At the ground near the Kikuyu Roads apartments. We'll be handing over the keys to the would-be owners. So we're able to keep that word. So for your customers, as long as you keep your word, he'll keep the cash flow flowing in the business. So actually, you don't need to really have that lot of money. Just keep your word, and the cash will flow in your business from your customer. Then you go to the other person. Important. The other person is now the supplier. Many people take for suppliers for granted, because you're saying, after all, I'm giving the guy business. So why should I care much about him? So to us, suppliers are very important, because they're also our financiers. Like our business, at times the suppliers have finances to the tune of 30 million, whereby that's a credit they've given you. That's free money. They're not charging you an extra interest for that. So you have to keep your word. So and the supplier, the only he wants to, he wants the business, yes, but he also wants to have that, make sure you keep the word. So if you give him a PD check and you're really not going to have money that time, just making a simple call and explain to him that just delay it for 1 more week, he'll understand. But some people may decide to be a bit ignorant, arrogant, and maybe just say, anyway, after all, I'm giving him business. So we keep a very good relationship with our suppliers. That gives us another form of capital. It's another form of free capital, which people don't tend to realize in one or another. Then the last person is now the investor. You see, the investor doesn't want many stories, and it just wants his return. You promise him this return. That's basically what he wants. He's probably someone who made his money a long time ago. Now he's looking for a place money can work for him. So he doesn't want stories. So if you mess up with the employee, he'll mess up with the customers. You won't have money to pay suppliers. You'll forever have fights with suppliers, and you'll forever be giving investor stories. What does that mean? The investor will not want to hear about you next time. So you don't need money. You just need to have a good relationship with your people you deal with.
That's absolutely interesting and very, very informative. And I hope everyone out there who's looking to get into this business is taking notes and following super keenly. And as we come to the end of this conversation, where are these Harry homes? Where can we find them?
Super. We actually based Devson Court. Devson Court is a Wings Kodek Road, Hurlingham. Is actually the second turning on your left after Java. This is Java in Hurlingham. Second turning on your left after that Java. You'll go straight on. You'll find Rasi Gardens. After Rasi Gardens, Devson Court. We're actually there at Suite 5. Okay. Then some of the properties we have currently, we have the one that is off Naivasha Road, Kikuyu Road. From off Naivasha Road, that junction of going to Kawangware and Dagurecho Idhaka. From there, it's around 1.5 kilometers. That's where we have Kikuyu 1. That's one of our first projects using the equity model. We also have Kikuyu 2, the one we are breaking ground. It's just a kilometer away from there. Then when this side of, from New Kitusuru, we have Kitusuru 2, which has 70 units. Then we also have 300 units we did near the river, near Desa there. So in total, last year, we did around 440 units. So we have our presence in 3 counties, Machakos County, Kiambu County, and Nairobi County. That's really, really good. Quite impressive. And I'm sure this is off the cuff, but that's fine. Diguwamku is asking, how old is Aphantis? I'm turning 40 this year. You're turning 40 in 2017? Yeah. Quite accomplished at a very, very young age. Maybe a final word of advice to all the youngsters out there who are looking to get into the business. What would you say to them? First is define your purpose. It's good to define your purpose. Know exactly what you want. And always don't really work for money, but also work to make a difference. Be a social entrepreneur, but you want to make a social impact as well. Then after that, learn the habit of doing extra. You know, at times, like when you started working back then, I remember my dad would always tell me, I think you're just earning 8,000 and you're working too much. But I always used to go that extra mile. And it's from that maybe my boss was able to recognize that and made me an audit manager at a very young age. And from there, I was exposed to very many clients. So always make a habit of, don't always work for money, especially when you're young. I think the opportunity is work to learn. My key thing, I'll say work to learn. But first of all, establish your purpose, then work to learn. Then from there, get the right people. If you're partnering with people, get the like-minded people. By that I mean at least people who are risk takers as you, people you share the same blueprint. Because if you get someone who you don't share the same blueprint, in short, I'm saying your friends probably may not necessarily be the best partners. You may need to get someone who has the same risk appetite as you.
Get someone with the same risk appetite as you. That's the message you are taking from Aventus today. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Karibu, karibu, karibu.
Highly appreciated. Well, this has been Motivate. Keep this conversation going on a social media platform. The hashtag is KTN Life and Style, hashtag Inspiration Thursday. On Twitter and Instagram is at KTN Life _ Style. On Facebook, KTN Life and Style. SMS is 22840.
You do not expect a child to walk perfectly, you see, but at least the child has got to be given the chance to walk before they walk perfectly. Now, when people see you stumbling and falling, oh, you see, those were just your imaginations. This was just flesh.